Welcome to the Capital News, everyone. I am your host, Alex Karitis. I hope everyone is doing well today. In a follow-up to yesterday's podcast, like I said, I am going to touch base again on President Trump's State of the Union address and the particular topic of maternity leave that he brought up briefly during that address. Before I get into that, I do want to talk about some of the news today because there was some breaking news and some things that happened last night that I want to address real quickly. First, we had President Trump give a rally in El Paso last night to a rather sizable crowd, which is no surprise, to again discuss the border wall and attempts to avert another government shutdown. Across town, we had Beto O'Rourke. If you remember Beto, he was the Democratic contender against Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Of course, Senator Ted Cruz won his re-election bid. So it's interesting to see how we have Beto O'Rourke still in the spotlight. And if you recall, on the President's State of the Union address, the Democratic response was given by Stacey Abrams, who was the Democratic gubernatorial candidate from Georgia, who also lost her race. So why the Democrats want to keep bringing up these failed candidates, probably because they're, I guess, somewhat charismatic to their side. Want to continue to breathe life into them, keep them going maybe for another political cycle. They see some value in them over the long term. Otherwise, it really wouldn't make any much more sense. One of the interesting things that Beto brought up during his counter rally in El Paso was he said, walls don't save lives. Walls end lives. I'll say that again. Walls don't save lives. Walls end lives. Now, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Maybe you do, I don't. Maybe he's talking about some wall collapse somewhere. Actually fell on somebody, tragically killed him. I have no idea. If that's the best he could come up with, knowing that he had this counter rally planned, it's no surprise he lost to Senator Cruz, isn't it? I mean, it just all sort of starts to come together. It makes a lot more sense when you look at it that way. I don't know what these guys are doing. These Democrats, I mean. They're in left field. Trump derangement syndrome. Bringing up failed candidates. We have, I believe, at this point, 8 presidential contenders on the Democratic side at this point. There will be more, don't worry. The circus is just getting started. But in addition to those rallies, we had some news that also broke that the Republican and Democratic delegations who were negotiating border wall funding, security, all that jazz, plus an extension of government funding to avert another government shutdown, said they had come to a tentative agreement. What we later come to find is that this is not much of an agreement, at least not from what President Trump has been asking for and has been seeking. Recall that the president is looking for $5.6 or $5.7 billion to finish the southern border wall. Well, what we seem to find is that in this new agreement is that the Democrats are going to offer 1.3, 1.4 billion. 1.3, 1.4 billion. That's not even close. Not even halfway there. Now, at the time of this recording, all I know is President Trump's statement was he was not too happy about it, but that another government shutdown was going to be unlikely. So what does that mean? Does that mean he is going to reluctantly sign this agreement? Let these legislators put these ideas to paper, let the president truly review it, see what's there, see what he can do? Is there some wiggle room for him to get a little bit more money? maybe up to the $3 billion, $3.5 billion? Is he going to have to look at a national emergency declaration so he can take funds from the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense? What's he going to do? I don't know. All I know at this point is he is not happy. I don't know if this is the art of the deal and there is going to be an 11th hour turnaround for the president. But what we do know is from his own base, we have Ann Coulter, conservative flamethrower, out already tweeting saying that this is President Trump's, quote, yellow deal, which is obviously a play on words for the Democrats' new Green Deal. She is railed against Trump, saying if he doesn't get this wall built, that it's going to be the end of his political career. I don't take that extreme view. While build that wall is most definitely something of interest to his base and still gets them wound up, as you saw full-throated in El Paso last night, it remains to be seen what's actually going to take place. So, Ann Coulter's out there, no surprise, saying what she said. And then you have Rush Limbaugh, who at the time of his show was sort of looking for damage control. How can the president get around this? What can he do? What can he tell his supporters? Well, everybody, we have a divided government. See, this is what happens when you have Democrats take control of the House. I can't get anything done. Now, that may resonate with some people. His diehard fans will probably stick with him thick and thin no matter what happens. Others, who knows? I think at the end of the day, they'll come back to him because there's a whole host of other issues that exist that will motivate people to vote for Trump again. In the 2020 election, believe me, in terms of politics, it's a lifetime away. But nevertheless, when you have somebody who touts himself as the greatest deal maker ever, and then you have the government shutdown from last month, that ends, then you have a short break to avert another partial government shutdown, and the other side, the Democrats barely move. I mean, barely move. Not even halfway there as far as the funding is concerned for his border wall. The other thing that's ridiculous is we have $22 trillion in debt. We have a $4 trillion budget. Of course, $1 trillion of that is complete debt. That's the deficit. That's where we're going. So the government takes in $3 trillion. We spend about $4 trillion. The difference makes up our deficit that contributes to our national debt. And we're complaining about $5.6 billion for something that the government is actually supposed to do. Defend the people in the borders of this country. Yet it's politics. Democrats voted for more money before. But this is President Trump. This was a big campaign promise, so they have to stop him at any and all costs. I also have questions on what this does with U.S.-China trade talks. Because the Chinese can see this too. They know what's going on here. Well, we're negotiating with President Trump as well. He's caved to the Democrats. He caved. He broke down. From their perspective. He signed the last bill to reopen the government. Okay, that's reasonable. We can understand it. But now, there was supposed to be ample time to get the Democrats to move further to his side. Art of the deal. Best deal maker out there, right? Not even halfway there. Doesn't sound very good to me. Now, will he sign this? We'll see in the coming days. Most likely, we'll probably see tomorrow what he decides to do. What else can he do without declaring a national emergency? I do believe he does have some other options to move around some funds. I know Democrat Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, he's already come out and said he would still need congressional approval for that. So he's probably trying to preempt that argument. More drama on the Beltway. That's all this is. It's a distraction. 5.6, 5.7 billion. They voted for more before. $22 trillion in debt. This has to do with security. This has to do with stopping drugs. This has to do with stopping illegal immigration. This has to do with stopping human trafficking, sex trafficking. And the Democrats, who are supposed to be our guardian angels, holier than thou, don't seem to have a problem with that. Or they think drones can stop all this stuff. I don't think that's the case. I don't think drones can stop it. They can take a picture. Not good enough. More insanity. Just another day at the office. So that's sort of the excitement on the news from last night and some of the breaking news earlier today on February 12th. Now, moving over to follow-up discussion on maternity leave. Some of the questions I asked in yesterday's podcast was, who pays for it? What are the details? How long is it going to be for? Is this just for the mothers, or is this for the fathers as well? And what about single people without children? Do they get time off with pay? To me, these are important questions. What about the employers? Are they flipping the bill? Is it partly on the employer, partly on the government, which is obviously us, the taxpayer? You know, I tell you time and time again, I am a libertarian. I will support President Trump when I agree with him, and I will tell you when I disagree with him. This is an issue I disagree with him on. This, I strongly believe, is a pet project of his daughter's, Ivanka. And with all due respect to her, I understand that she thinks that this is important. That's fantastic. Start a company, offer this as a benefit to expectant mothers and fathers. Don't dictate from the federal government how employers are supposed to act and behave and what type of benefits they're supposed to offer their employees. I applauded President Trump during his State of the Union address when he got up there and said, this country, the United States of America, will never, never be a socialist nation. Well, you can't have it both ways, Mr. President, when you're talking about another federal government program. You just can't. When you dictate terms and conditions on how corporations, small businesses are to operate and what type of benefits they are to offer their employees, guess what that's called? We have a word for it. It's the word you used that you said we would never be. That's what socialism is. Almost by definition, that's what it is. It's the state's control of production and the means of production. So I don't get it. You want to be heartfelt, you want to do this, fine. You're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, Mr. Trump. Offer this to your employees. Nobody's stopping you. Maybe you'll get a good rating in a handful of business magazines that look and do surveys that say best places in America to work. Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, I am not demonizing anybody who wants to start a family. Not for a second. Congratulations to all the people out there who want a family, who want kids, or who are about to have kids. It's great news. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what the role of government ought to be. It is not to dictate to people, to corporations, to small businesses, what types of benefits they have to offer their employees. Let me give you an example so maybe you have a better understanding of where I'm coming from on this. Let's say you're an employer. Let's say you're a small business owner. Okay, let's say you have 30 employees. Let's say maybe you do $15 to $20 million in business. That's a good sized small company, especially with 30 people. Let's say you have two women who work for you, Sarah and Julie, all right? Sarah is an expectant mother. Sarah is a phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal, employee. She's value add. She can do it all. She's learned everything in this company. She is a tremendous asset. And if you lose Sarah, you're going to feel it. The ability to find her replacement, her type of energy, her type of knowledge, it's going to be incredibly difficult to find. You're going to have to hire somebody. You're going to have to train somebody. Very time-consuming and very costly. So Sarah and her husband are expecting a newborn baby. Congratulations to Sarah, right? Now, in my opinion, if the small business owner says, hey, Sarah, you know what? We love you. You're phenomenal. You're a leader. You're energetic. You're passionate. You help solve problems. Everybody loves you. Take a month off. Spend time with your new baby. Congratulations. And that employer can decide, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll lay you off. You go collect unemployment. And after a month, you come back. It's your job, no problem. No questions about it. Maybe the employer says, hell, I'll pay you out of my pocket. You're not going to do any work. I don't want you to do any work. I want you to spend time getting to know and love your new baby. So spend a month doing that. I'm going to pay you out of my pocket. You're not going to work. And after that month, you come back. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. It's his business. Once the government gets involved and starts dictating from on high what you can and cannot do, it starts to become less and less of your business and more of the government's. And if it's the government's business, then it's not yours. And if it's the government's business, well, then what do we have here, ladies and gentlemen? What do we have? We have socialism, or we have corporatism, which is truly the same thing at the end of the day. It will result in the same thing at the end of the day. Because it's clearly not free market capitalism. Because in that system, the government wouldn't even dream of getting involved in telling you how to run your business. Okay, so that's Sarah. And now we have Julie. Julie is also an expectant mother. Congratulations, Julie. You'll be a terrific mother, we have no doubt. We like you and everything, you're good, but guess what, everybody? Julie is a dime a dozen. Okay? From a business perspective, Julie is a dime a dozen. You can go out and find a replacement for what Julie does. It doesn't mean Julie's a bad person. Everybody may very much like and love Julie. But we're not talking about a popularity contest here. We're talking about running a business. So in this instance, just for the sake of my example, if the business owner wants to say, hey, Julie, you know, congratulations, we wish you and your husband all the best. No doubt you'll be a great mother. to your new baby, all that good stuff. Throw her a party. And then you say, but you know what? I can't guarantee your job's going to be here when you come back. Lay her off. She can collect unemployment. Call it a day. Go look for somebody else. I personally don't have a problem with that. Why? Because it's not my business. It's the employer's business. He gets to decide. Or maybe he says, you know what, we'll lay you off. I'm going to look for somebody. If I can't find anybody, then it's your job, or whatever the case may be. I just don't like how there are so many rules and regulations around employment that removes the employer's ability to run his business how he sees fit. Everybody's got to complain. Everybody's got a grievance. Go to work, do your job, and prove to be somebody like Sarah. Because then the ball's in your court. Because Sarah, in this example, most definitely knows how valuable she is to this company. So she has some leverage. But in this argument, she doesn't even need to use it because it's recognized not only by the owner, employer, but by everybody else that she works with of how valuable she is to the company. So of course you want Sarah to stay, come back, be well rested, spend time with your newborn, all that good stuff. Julie, on the other hand, again, dime a dozen, it's a business decision. Best of luck with everything, but I got to keep moving. This, train's leaving the station. I can't wait for you. These are decisions you make. Now, of course, nobody at this juncture knows the details of what President Trump is actually going to lay out on the table in regards to maternity leave. But the very fact that he brings it up, it doesn't sit well with me. And I hope you understand where I'm all coming from here, because this is important. I'm all for employers making a decision to support women and men, new fathers, give them time off to spend time with their families and their newborns and all that good stuff. But that's their decision. It's not the decision of the federal government. And then again, the other question I asked earlier, what about people who decide not to have children? They can be value add to a company too, right? They can be terrific. Why don't they get a month off? I mean, we've got to be talking about equality, right? We got to be talking about fairness here. Why don't they get to have a month off paid? Maybe 2 months. Maybe 3. We don't know the details yet. But you have to assume, for argument's sake, it's going to be at least a month. It's going to be paid, probably at least 50%, if not 100% of your pay. When does it end? When does it end? The other thing that he brought up during the State of the Union address was pre-existing conditions. And I'm going to get into that a little bit tomorrow, or at least later this week, depending on what type of news breaks. And that's very much in the same vein of the government dictating from on high how businesses have to do business. There's no middle ground here. This is what we're fighting. This is the ideological battle, and it's beyond ideology. This is real. This is in our faces. We have the new Green Deal. We have the continuation of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We now have maternity leave coming up. We now have pre-existing conditions coming up. You have a whole host of other things that the government already dictates from on high down to employers and to the individual. We're already in the middle of it. I hope some of you can at least understand where I'm coming from, because that's what this is all about. This is about employers having the right to their business. All right, everybody, thanks for listening today. Please feel free to check out my channel on YouTube as well. That's under the Capital News with Alex Koritis. And of course, those who may be listening on YouTube, please check out my website, thecapitalnews.com, thecapitalnews.com, and of course that's capital with a K. We have news articles up there. I write some opinion pieces, and of course you can find the podcast there as well. And for those who are listening off of my website, please make your way to my YouTube channel, because here in the near future I am going to be posting some other videos that will be educational in nature, and also some extensions of these podcasts, but will be visual. They will contain videos, and I will show some charts, graphs, and some data of some things that I look at that sort of prepare me for these podcasts. So please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help this channel grow. Spread the word. This is the Capital News. I'm Alex Koritis. Godspeed.